Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Wetland Mitigation Banking Program Notice of Funding Opportunity webinar. Today is June 12th, 2024, and this session is being recorded. My name is Jessica Weiss, and I am with the Wetland Mitigation Banking Program National Team. I will be your host for this webinar. Today we have joining me, Tessa Garcia. Tessa is our grants management specialist, and she will be your point of contact for this notice of funding opportunity. We also have Sean Vickers, my colleague, joining us here today. Sean, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Good to be here. Sean Vickers. I've been the technical lead for the Wetland Mitigation Program since its inception in 2015. So I'll be talking to you here in just a bit.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Before we get started with the presentation, I just have a few announcements that I would like to cover. I am going to be turning off my camera to conserve bandwidth, and I am not the highlight of the webinar here today, so we'll focus on our slides instead here. The slides and the recording of this webinar will be posted to the WMBP website as soon as possible. The recording will take a few weeks to be posted. We do have to allow time for 508 compliance. The camera and the mic will be turned off for the participants for the duration of the presentation. However, the chat is active and you may ask questions throughout the presentation. Answers will be provided at the end. And once we get to the Q&A portion, if you prefer to ask any question verbally, please raise your hand and you will be able to do that within the chat. So it is in the upper portion of the screen. So please raise your hand there and we will be able to unmute you so you can ask that verbal question. If we do not answer all the questions today, we will provide a follow-up response in an updated FAQ posted on our WMBP website. And with that, I have Russell Ames here also with us today. He is the projects branch chief, and he is going to provide some opening remarks to kick off this webinar. Russell?
Thank you, Jessica. First of all, welcome to the webinar on the Wetland Mitigation Banking Program. We're really glad to see you here and see interest in the program. I'm Russell Ames, I'm the Projects Branch Chief, and very excited to see the wonderful proposals that will be coming in this cycle. Since 2014, NRCS has made 31 awards for wetland mitigation banks with a total federal investment of $21 million. This year, we're very excited to continue that tradition. And same as prior years, we will target funding to high wetland workload states. And final priority will be given to projects that target marginalized producers. We hope you'll be specific in your proposal and include an outreach plan so that we know exactly how your project, if selected, will benefit these communities. But thank you so much for your interest in the program. I don't want to take up any more time. I want to leave it all for Jessica and Sean, who will cover the presentation and all the details of these programs. So thank you for joining.
Thank you, Russell. Appreciate that. So today's agenda consists of basic program information, both administrative and technical in nature. We will be highlighting the important factors of the Notice of Funding Opportunity along with the application process. We will give you a chance to ask a few questions and tell you where to go if you have additional questions after this session. And Sean, I will pass it over to you, please.
Okay, I'll just quickly say that as I go through this presentation, there will be some things that I'm very repetitive about. And that's not that I'm a crazy old man. It's just that there are certain aspects of this program that we really want to reinforce. So when you hear me say things 3 and 4 times, there's a reason for that. So I am going to turn my camera back off because sometimes at the crucial moment when we have our cameras on, things tend to lock up. So we don't want that to happen. So here we go. With NRCS, when we talk about wetland mitigation, we usually have a situation where we have a producer who comes into one of our field offices and they have a small wetland that's just not compatible to their farming operation. And we'll see one of those here in a little bit for an example. So that farmer's tired of farming around and around that wetland and they want to do something about that. So we work with producers on those situations. We don't just jump right to the mitigation steps. We use what is called NEPA, and we try to work with the producer to avoid the wetland first. If we can't do that, we work with the producer to try to minimize the impacts to that site. And then only then do we jump to mitigation. NRCS is a little bit different than the Corps of Engineers. It's important to remember that we have to mitigate both the type of wetlands, replace the lost functions and values, but we also have to replace the lost acres. So that's just a little bit different than what the Corps of Engineers does. So we found over the years, I started March 14th, 1988, a long time ago, that back before we had the Wetland Mitigation Banking Program, we used to have producers mitigate wetlands that they wanted to eliminate on their own land or a neighbor's land. That never worked very well for either us or the producer. Those of you who know anything about wetland restoration know that you have to have a wetland soil. It's good to have a seed bank of wetland vegetation on the site that you're going to use and enough hydrology to keep the site wet when you want it wet. So that's kind of where we ended up with the Wetland Mitigation Banking Program. Next slide. So I want to emphasize today that the Wetland Mitigation Banking Program is intended to establish wetland mitigation banks for our agricultural producers. It's not intended to help cities with development projects or help state governments with road projects or anything like that. The total requirement of this program is we want to help our USDA participating agricultural producers with mitigating wetlands on their land. Next. So the program started in 2014. We had an initial pot of money of $10 million. I was lucky enough to be selected to manage the technical aspects of the program. When I started, they said, this is just going to be a temporary job for you, Sean, because this is a pilot program and it's going to go away after this 2014 Farm Bill. But it's continued on. I think it's been very popular with our producers, and that's why it's continued to be funded. And as you see there, it was reauthorized in 2018. Next. So again, the focus of this program is for our agricultural producers. I want to emphasize the photo in this specific slide. That's the kind of wetland we're looking to mitigate. You can see where the soybean rows go up to the edge of that, and you can see the wheel tracks where the farmer is tired of going around and around that wetland. If you're a wetland nerd like I am, that's a PEMA wetland, a palustrin emergent temporary wetland, and these are the kind of things that we want to use the program to help farmers mitigate. Next. So what is wetland compliance? Wetland compliance is the reason we have this program. Since 1985, under the Food Security Act program, producers are required to not drain wetlands on their land, so they cannot convert a wetland to make possible the production of an agricultural commodity. Or if you're a producer and you start farming a new piece of land and unbeknownst to you, you planted an agricultural commodity on a wetland that had been converted, you can get in trouble that way. And that's not what we want to happen. And back in 2014, under that Farm Bill, crop insurance was added to the list of covered programs for wetland compliance. And a producer never wants to lose their eligibility for crop insurance supplementation. So things became very real in the last Farm Bill. Next. So another example of what we want to focus on, wetlands that are less than 5 acres, cropped wetlands, seasonal, temporary, degraded, and wetlands that are isolated. We'd like to not have to get the Corps of Engineers involved with our projects if we don't have to. Once in a while, that is necessary, but we'd like to focus on these isolated wetlands because the mitigation process is much easier. Next. I think we turn it back to you for a little bit here, Jessica.
Yep, that's correct. So with the notice of funding opportunity, we have up to $7 million available in funding for this announcement. $100,000 is the minimum floor of any award, and $1 million is our ceiling. We do expect to make about 10 awards with this funding. Eligible applicants should have the expertise and capacity to operate and manage all aspects of the Wetland Mitigation Bank. NRCS must approve the banking instrument, but we will not be involved in the day-to-day oversight of your project. And as Russell mentioned, we do give priority consideration to applicants that prioritize outreach opportunities or do outreach, to marginalized, also known formally as historically underserved producers. Those of you might be more familiar with that term, and we will define that later in this presentation. Priority will also be given to banks based in geographic locations where there's a significant amount of wetlands, wetland acres, or conservation compliance requests. These locations, according to NRCS data, are Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. Again, these are only the priority states, so other states not listed here are still eligible to apply. And recipients must provide a funding match amount at least 20% of the total project's costs. So this includes your federal and non-federal budget. So for example, if the total cost in your budget shows $1 million and the match is 20% of that cost, that would mean that $200,000 would be required as match. So match can be cash or in kind, and in general, eligible expenses for the federal funding could be used as match. So you can also include unrecovered indirect costs and costs associated with the easement acquisition. One other thing to note is that your proposal should include a plan to make credits available within a 24-month period of initiating the project. You should also have a site-specific or should have a specific plan for locating and securing potential sites with priority given to proposals that have already secured a mitigation site. So how can you spend these funds? You can use them to develop the banking instrument. You can use it to identify suitable sites and performance of functional assessments to determine the available credits and a credit release schedule. You can use it for market research and contracting of your mitigation activities. We can include land surveys, permitting and title searches, and the design and formulation of your mitigation plans. In addition, you can also use these funds to restore, enhance, and create the mitigation bank sites in accordance to the NRCS practice standards. You can use these funds to track and manage the wetland mitigation data. And again, the direct administrative costs associated with implementing the project and indirect costs as well. So how can these funds not be used? We cannot purchase land or conservation easements. However, you can use it in your match section. We cannot spend funds on capital expenditures for general purpose equipment, for buildings and land, or improvements to the land, buildings, or equipment, which materially increase their value and the useful life. Expenses already funded through another program are also ineligible. And we do have a list and further discussion within the NOFO for further details on the unallowable costs. So how will your applications be evaluated? Well, we have asked you to describe the outreach plan and how you will work with marginalized producers. We've asked that all required documents be present, and this may disqualify you from further review if you do not have all the information in your application. Is the project within the priority area? Are your goals clear, measurable, achievable? And do you have a team made up of experts that can manage your project? Do you have a specific plan or a priority for shovel-ready projects within your bank development and operation? And again, the marginally or historically underserved outreach plan. So we ask that you just don't say yes, you will work with these producers. We ask for further detail. So how will you target these individuals or entities? You could target producers who might have restorable wetlands or mitigation bank sites on their land, or you could promote the availability of credits to marginalized producers. But please be sure to expand on your plan to reach these producers or entities. Go into further detail of how you will reach and target these individuals. So for those of you unfamiliar with the term marginalized or historically underserved, they consist of beginning farmers or ranchers, limited resource farmers or ranchers, socially disadvantaged or a rancher, veteran farmer or rancher. And full details of these definitions can be found on the link there in front of you. So how do you apply? Where do you find the information on this announcement? Grants.gov is your main source of information on how to apply. We have posted the announcement number for you to quickly search within grants.gov. You can also search in grants.gov by typing in wetland mitigation, and you should be able to find it that way as well. When we receive your application, we're going to be evaluating against several criteria, both technical considerations and project management. So 40% of the review is based on your plan for developing and operating the mitigation bank. So we ask that you have your plan in place along with your application submitted electronically through grants.gov. And the deadline is August 2nd, 2024 by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. That is when we must receive your your project proposal. One thing that if you have never worked with us before is to ensure that you have a SAM and UEI numbers set up and in place. So registration may take up to 21 days to complete. So we ask that you start that now to plan ahead in case there are any issues throughout your registration process. So SAM is your System for Award Management, and you will be issued the unique entity ID with that, which is in place of the DUNS number for those familiar with DUNS. And the link provided there will help direct you for more information and the registration process. So this is just a screenshot of what the grants.gov site looks like once you have found this particular announcement. If you do have concerns or issues with grants.gov, there is a phone number and email address for you to contact to help work through any issues that you may have. NRCS does not see any of the proposals until they are accepted through grants.gov, so we are not able to provide support. So it is extremely important that you do contact that phone number or email inbox to help you with your needs. One other website to note is our website for WMBP, which is linked in this presentation. You can also just do a general search for NRCS WMBP, and it's typically the first thing that does pop up in your web search. But our website does have information on conservation compliance, summaries of our funded projects from the past, and other background material as well. One thing to note is that grants.gov does do regular system maintenance. So it will be down June 15th through the 17th, and then again, July 20th through the 22nd. So if you do log in during those days or attempt to log in, you likely will not be able to get into the system during the monthly maintenance. If your proposal is selected for funding, do not accrue expenses prior to the agreement approval. We cannot reimburse for anything started prior to the award. So it is extremely important to, again, not start anything before that agreement is in place. And Sean, back to you, please.
Probably be involved with, because your state office NRCS person won't know about things like credit release schedules, financial assurances, et cetera. So I'll be helping out. But the overall oversight is that you will be working with your either a state biologist in the state where your bank is, a state compliance person, or something like that. You won't be working with me on a day-to-day basis unless you're having issues. So you will draft a banking instrument. You'll submit that to the state office NRCS folks for their review. If they want me to take a look at it, I will. And then ultimately that banking instrument will be signed by you, the grantee, and the state conservationist in the state where your bank is. Something new that we are doing this year is that it's taken a lot of banks want to use their own deed, and it takes a long time because these deeds have to be approved and vetted through our Office of General Counsel, through our lawyers. So if you decide that you want to hold the easement, or you have a third party that you want to hold the easement on these bank sites, then we will provide you with a warranty easement deed template that will make things go much faster for you. Otherwise, we are still able to hold the deed if you want us to do that. I do want to mention that we are a little bit different than the Corps of Engineers, and that we do not use an IRT. IRTs, when you go that route, it takes banks years and years to get up and running generally. That's not what we are looking for. We would like to get our banks up and running in 24 months. But I do want to emphasize that that does not mean that we don't follow any issues with historic properties or endangered species. We do get the Fish and Wildlife Service folks involved when we need to. We do get the SHPO folks involved when we have historic property issues. And we take care of all of those laws, and we do comply with all laws and regulations. Next slide. Okay, your responsibilities is that you will identify and secure sites with your customers without NRCS assistance. Please don't come to our field offices or our state offices or our area offices and ask them to help you find sites. That's kind of why we are giving you financial assistance to help you get out there and find the sites. We want this to be a third-party wetland banking program that you pretty much get up and running on your own. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you'll develop the banking instrument. We'll provide you with a checklist for that, and you'll work with the state office to get that ultimately approved. With the grants and agreements folks, they'll be asking you to submit regular project reports. So please do those, or they will get on you. And please don't suffer in silence. If you do have issues, and we'll provide the Wetland Mitigation Banking email site one more time. Don't suffer in silence. If you're having trouble with your state folks, let us know so we can jump in. I've had conflict resolution training. I'm happy to help. I have a lot of experience, so I'd rather not get a call that I've been working with my state office person for a year and I'm just not getting anywhere with my bank. We don't want that to happen. If you're having other troubles that are outside of the technical realm, use that same website and Jessica can jump in and help you or get you to the person you need. Next slide. Okay, so something that's new this sign up, and I'm pretty excited about it, is before we asked that you to use the approved HGM model for generating credits in whatever area you were at, something that had been vetted through the Corps and approved. The folks are wetland specialists in our regional office in Fort Worth are developing kind of a general all-around functional assessment procedure that can be used anywhere. Now, if you have something that's already been vetted in your state and you're happy with it, that's fine. But we will be putting out, by the time these grants are all approved and out there, we'll be putting out a general HGM kind of process to use to help you show the credits that you will have in each bank site. Next. Again, the mitigation banking instrument, we have a standard checklist. It follows, if you have a core bank or you've been involved with those, it's the same checklist that is in 33 CFR that the Corps uses for their banks. So we'll provide those and help you get started with developing your banking instrument. Next. So I did want to show an example of kind of the bank site idea that we're looking for. This is a site in Minnesota. It was drained before 1985. It is a prior converted wetland. It's probably got a nice seed bank of wetland vegetation under that grass. Once we put water on it, we know we'll have wetland plants. Looks like we've got a nice slope there. We've got some hydrology. So if we put in a simple ditch plug, we'll have a wetland. Next slide. So this is that same site. After the ditch plug has been installed, over time, those wetland plants will come in there. You can see we've already got enough hydrology to make a wetland, so we're on our way to being good to go. Next. Okay, that's it. I think I'm supposed to answer the questions that are in the chat. I see one that hasn't been fully answered by Paula, and then I think, Jessica, you're going to take questions through the mic too. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. If folks want to raise your hands after Sean gets through the chat questions here, then I will be able to unmute you so you can ask your question.
Okay, Paula, to finish answering your question, you're doing something that one of our other banks has done, in which they are an entity to help work with producers to find sites. And then they use a third party to do the banking aspect of that. So I think we can make that work. And I would still encourage you to submit a proposal. I hope I answered your question. Anybody else want to ask a question?
Okay, Matt, let me unmute you, please. And allow mic.
Good morning, or at least it's morning here in the Midwest still. Thank you for all of the information. This is fantastic. And Sean, there was a portion of the of when you were speaking that we weren't really able to grab, and I think part of it was on communication with the department or the state departments. So I was hoping my question is kind of related there. The funding program is to enable further development of these banking credits, correct? So if we were self-supported and we were able to find like existing wetland sites, is there a tool that we could use to measure the ecological benefits that that site has, and then potentially market those credits for people like, say, like I just read a newspaper article in Michigan where, they did a uh-oh or something like that. Is there a commercial viability for those?
I'm not aware of one. So are you thinking that you would find some sites and then let either the producers or the banks know that you have sites available? Is that kind of where you're going?
Correct. Like say that the process for creation of these wetlands or established wetlands had already been done. But before anybody was, being fined or like considering development. So what I was hoping I could do is I could find existing landowners that are participants of the, restoring wetlands, and then generate, the benefit or measure the benefit of those wetlands and then offer those credits.
I don't know how well that would work because in many cases, those wetlands are already protected through some type of easement, maybe not through our program, but through the other either programs through us or Nature Conservancy or something like that. So I'm just not sure how well that would work. We can talk further offline on that though.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Tessa, give me 1 second here and I will get you off mute. Okay. Is it working?
Hi, Jess. This is Tessa.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
We got you. Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to pipe in real quick. If some of those questions about the credits, if that's going towards what you might be putting in your proposal, that's something that we wouldn't be addressing at this point in time. So if it's specific, if it's questions related to what you might be doing or what you might want to propose, that's really going to be up to you, the entity, to make that determination and put into the proposal. Once the proposals are reviewed by the agency, and if it's selected, that's where you'll go ahead and work with it's Jessica or Sean or whoever in the agency to further answer those type of questions. But anything related to potential proposals, we can't assist you with that at the moment. That's where we're going to direct you back to the notice of funding opportunity and, basically pull out the information you need in order to develop that proposal. Thank you.
I see a question in the chat. I'm not fully understanding it. Are we to understand that we can only purchase in our state, Ohio, or can we purchase in other states? So if you're talking the producer and Paula, wetland banks are usually set up according to hydrologic units. We use what are called 8-digit hydrologic unit codes, which is kind of a service area of where the bank is. And usually we require producers to, if they're inside of that HUC, we want them to buy credits from a bank that has sites that are inside that service area. I'm not sure if that's where you're going with your question, but feel free to unmute yourself and Jessica can help you with that and we can talk it out.
And Paula, if you wish to be able to verbalize your question, raise your hand or put in the chat, and I can certainly do that for you if Sean, if you have further questions on that.
Or Paula, if you want to, I was just going to say, Paula, if you want to drop an email too into the Wetland Mitigation Banking email side and leave your phone number and you want to call me offline here, we can talk that way as well if that's more comfortable for you.
Matt, I see your hand is raised. Did you have a follow-up question?
No, I'm sorry. Do I unraise it?
Yeah, I can. Okay, great. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure I didn't want to miss anything. Okay, so Paula, you do have your hand. So let me. Okay, try unmuting yourself now, Paula.
Hi. Hi. Can
There
you
we
hear
go.
me? Yeah. Hi.
Yes.
Yeah. We have we're working with a company that has acreage that they want to do, and we had noticed other places to help do restoration for credits. That's why we were wondering if we could do it in. It has to be within total proximity of our site that we're working towards mitigating, or if we can go into other states.
You can develop bank sites in any state you want. I would encourage you to select areas that have a high wetland compliance workload though, just from the business of banking aspect.
Yeah, we work closely with a land conservancy program here, and that's what we're trying to find our best way of doing all of this to get everything put together and
Okay. Let's see. Minton Environmental. I am going to allow your mic, and you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Okay, yes, thank you. Follow up to a question that was asked earlier as far as eligible properties for bank sites. It was always my understanding that that these land masses should be prior converted lands and not something that was already enhanced or had wetland functional values on them. Is that correct, or is there an expansion beyond what I would call PC or prior converted?
No, Davis, you said it better than I did. We are looking for wetlands that were drained prior to December 23rd, 1985, because otherwise we're not really gaining anything with our wetland mitigation bank. So you brought up a very good point, and I appreciate you weighing in.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, Kane, you should be able to speak now.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Great. Yeah, this is Kane in Minnesota, and hi to everyone. My question is in regards to the land or easement being utilized as a match. One of the slides said the purchase of land or easements can be used as a match. I just wanted clarification. We wouldn't necessarily be purchasing the easement, paying a landowner for an easement, but for any project we do, the landowners agree to put an easement, a conservation easement on their land. So in essence, they're donating their land, agreeing to an easement. And so if we come up with a fair cost of the value of the easement or the land, that would be eligible as a match, correct? It wouldn't necessarily have to be a financial transaction between two parties.
Hi,
Let
Jess.
Tessa address that one.
Thanks. So
Sorry,
please make
Tessa.
sure, nope, it's okay. So there's information in the notice of funding opportunity on match. I believe it's in section C. And if you need additional information, please review 2 CFR 200.306. That is also listed in the NFO. Again, it's really going to be up to you, the entity, to review the NFO and additional guidance that's listed in there to make that determination when developing your proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you on, Kane.
Okay. Circling back, Paula, did you have additional questions? I see your hand is raised, and it might have been from before. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Paula. Minton Environmental, did you have additional questions?
No, I'm trying to figure out how to unraise my hand. Thank you.
No worries. I got it for you.
We call those legacy hands. I do that all the time, so no worries.
Yeah, it's easy to do. I always think it'll go down after a certain amount of time, but they never do. All right. Well, I don't have any more hands raised. Sean, are there any more questions in the chat that we need to address?
I don't think so. And again, if you don't feel comfortable, asking the question in this format, you see the email site there. You can ping us at that site via email, and we can talk offline. Sometimes people are more comfortable that way, and that's more than excellent.
Thank you all for attending today's webinar on the fiscal year 24 Wetland Mitigation Banking Program Notice of Funding Opportunity. We look forward to seeing your proposals. And again, thank you all for joining. Have a great day.